All right, today's episode is actually quite a big one. It's going to be really practical, but it could smack you in the face a little bit because what I want you to watch yourself do as I'm talking is watch your brain make all the reasons and excuses as to why I'm lying to you, right? That's true. It will do this, but what is really important is that you stay present. You stay present with what's going on for you in your mind. You stay present to what's going on for you in your body, because this is where we start to build the foundation for change and build the ability to actually take the action to make the change. Imagine if we removed all the dust and the reasons and excuses and all this sort of stuff, and then we moved from that place. That's what I want to get you from today. So bear with me. Welcome to another episode of The Pursuit of Myself. Let's go. So I want to talk about something today that I don't think gets said enough, and it's this. When we say we're stuck, when we actually stay stuck, we are getting something from it. It has a payoff. And we don't talk about that part enough because we talk about being stuck like it's a really terrible, hard thing, that something's happening to us, like I'm so stuck, right? Like we're victims of it. But I want you to sit with this for a second because it's actually the truth. If you don't move, you don't have to try. If you don't try, then nothing actually has to change. You get to keep your story exactly as it is. You get to keep their excuses and reasons. And this is why I don't have the money. This is why I don't have the relationship. This is why I haven't launched the business. This is why I haven't started that thing. Right? You have convinced yourself that X, Y, and Z has to happen before you can actually do the thing, before you're even allowed to do the thing. And here's what I need you to hear, and really hear this one. You actually need to do the thing to have what it is that you want, not the other way around, right? Even if you're winning lotto, you need to go and buy the ticket. You need to do the action to actually have the winning lotto ticket, and good luck that if you do that. But there is always the action piece. Be, do, have. You have to actually become the person that is ready. You have to do the thing before the having of it ever shows up. Most people are waiting to have the confidence first. Wait for it. When I'm confident, they wait to have the evidence. They wait to have the self-worth when I feel better about my worth, like when I deserve it, then I'll do it. Right? But it doesn't actually work like that. And it has never, ever worked like that. Not for me, not for anyone I've ever coached, not for anyone whose story I've ever admired from the outside. Right? Yes, I'm not going to go into, some people have, of privileges and different aspects of life, because that's just a fact. And if I do that, then we're going to have to debunk about all the people that have had really tough lives that still made something of their lives, et cetera, et cetera. So that is not what this episode is about. This episode is about you and actually looking at your reasons and excuses as to why you're saying things like, I'm not ready. Okay, so I want to ask you something, and I want you to actually answer this, not just let it wash over you. What are you waiting for? Like, what are you actually waiting for? When I ask you that, what comes up in your mind? Are you waiting for the kids to grow up? Are you waiting for confidence? Are you waiting for your deservingness or your self-worth to grow? Are you waiting for a sign from the universe, the evidence that you're going to be okay? Are you waiting for permission from your partner? Are you telling yourself that 2027 is going to be your year and quietly hoping that you get this 6 months just to not do the thing? And here's the wild part. All of this is actually really real. It's real in your mind. So I don't want to negate that. We sometimes have been telling ourselves these stories for long enough that they are very, very real. And when we say something for long enough on repeat, it becomes unconscious. So you might even not realize that you're telling yourself these stories anymore, because they've become such a habit and unconscious that your brain's put them in a section of your nervous system that you don't even need to think. That's just how you operate. Nope, not ready. Yep, nope, but the excuse, right? So this is where we're opening up. It is a real experience that you're having. But you can hold that reason and excuse in one hand and the actual reason in the other hand at exactly the same time. This is the duality of being human. One person will look at their kids and say, that's why I can't. And another person will look at their kids and say, this is why I am. Right? Similar circumstances, but they have a completely different identity that they're living from. And I'll tell you something else, because this took me a long time to actually feel in my body, not just understand it in my head. But there is no such thing as perfect timing. Timing is always perfect. And how, okay, so let me say that again. There is no such thing as perfect timing. Timing is always perfect. Why? Because the timing is right now. There's no past, there's no present. The timing is now. Now is all there is, right? Other than right now, it's just a story. You're either living from a projection of some future that you're imagining. I'll do it when. That may never happen. We all know this. The future is just a projection or a fantasy of what we want, right? What could go right? What could go wrong? Or you're living from your past, your programming, your patterning, your pain, your trauma, your old success stories, or even your old failures, all of it, right? You are making decisions for now based on past or future. But those places are stories. None of them are actually real. The only thing that is actually real is the present moment and the decision that's sitting in front of you right now, right? And take everything else away. Take away the projection, take away the past, take away what you're scared might happen or what might happen to you before or whatever is actually here. What's the truth of it? Stripped all the way back. Because everything else, everything is just a reason or an excuse. And I'm saying this with a deep, deep love in my heart. But let me give you some examples. So I want to give you some examples of my own life, because I think it's easy to nod along to this and then just go back to waiting. But nothing has actually happened in my life until I decided and made the choice that I was ready. The first one is even this podcast, right? I'd been talking about wanting to do this for a really long time. And in my head, the responsible thing, the smart thing, the thing that everyone was telling me to do was to have a bank of episodes before I launched. You know, get 5 in the can, have a buffer, don't put yourself in a position where week 3 comes around and there's nothing there, right? That's what the mind does. And you know what it did to me? It kept me stuck. See, quote unquote stuck. Because I never had the time to sit down and record 5 episodes. Or let me rephrase that. I didn't make the time to sit down and record 5 episodes. I didn't have a deadline. I didn't have a date I was working towards. That is the reason and is the excuse. So I could I think I sat on this for like nearly 12 months before I actually did anything about it, until I decided, you know what? Fuck it. I am just going to record my first episode. It wasn't insurance before it will let me move. It was me. And I didn't have that. I had 1 episode, maybe barely a second one forming, and I launched anyway. But the bank of episodes that I thought I needed first, they got built after, because I'd set myself a date and a deadline to work towards. Once I had launched the thing, I had to move anyway. So I got built. The podcast got built because the deadline already existed. I didn't wait for the runway. I built the runway by taking off. And it's really interesting how we do this. You know, we don't want to put ourselves in a position where we're, yes, overloaded and too much pressure, but we do want to put ourselves in a position where we're making the choices as if we're already having the thing, as if I was already recording an episode once a week, as if I was already a podcaster. I mean, what was I waiting for, really? I was just giving myself an excuse not to launch, not to start, not to put myself out there, not to be seen. That's the root underneath. Because once I started, I knew I'd made a commitment that I had to keep going, right? And just having 1 episode, poof, not one podcast studio would tell you to do that. All the professionals told me, no, that is not how it works. But I did it again and again, and I've always done this. The second one was She Evolves, the 1-day event, right? The actual day. I ran this 1-day event. I sold it out. And at the event, I thought, what am I going to actually, give these women an opportunity to keep working with me? I have the Myself Academy, which is nearly full. It was sitting there going, I'm going to put a 3-day event on. I decided that on the day. A 3-day event the next month that would give all these women an opportunity to continue to work with me. So I set the dates and off I went. I had zero evidence yet that the people and the women there were actually wanting more. But I had already started by halfway through the She Evolve 1 day. I was thinking, oh my God, the transformations. I want to work so deeply, authentically, and with these women to really get the breakthroughs that they deserve. Because really in 1 day, we were just touching the surface. So in that moment, I was like, I want you for 3 days. I didn't know the venue. I didn't know the numbers. I didn't know what I was going to charge. I hadn't spoken to anyone about this. But what I did was I moved on inspiration and alignment and authenticity. And I jumped. And I'm sitting here today recording this podcast, and this 3-day event is next Wednesday. So what are we? We're 8 days away, and I am nearly sold out again. So both times in those examples, the invitation came before the evidence, both times. Now, here's the part I really want you to sit in, because I think this is where most people get stuck the longest. It's the idea that you need to feel ready or to feel certain before you move. You don't. What you actually need is capacity. And capacity is not the same as certainty. Now, I have spent years building my capacity to be able to hold my nervous system in unease. I have spent years trying to do things and not always coming up trumps, but knowing that I can pick myself up and try again. And that didn't come because I was born different to you. This came because I gave myself permission to move anyway, to take the action, to get messy, to be seen, to fail, but also with my biggest vision, which is the purpose and alignment in my life, is to guide and be a mentor for women who are wanting more. Women who are wanting more wealth, women who are wanting to heal, women who are wanting to be in deeply connected relationships. That is my big thing. And every single time I take an authentic step in that direction, I know that it will turn out exactly the way it's meant to, jumping and leaping before I'm ready. And I also like to think about this. So if you're sitting here going, oh God, she's so brave. Oh, maybe you are. She's brave. You've got the courage. Again, this was built over time. I am no different to you. I'm absolutely no different to you. If you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed with this, think about it this way. Think about climbing a mountain. If you stand at the bottom and you look all the way up to the top summit, it's disparaging, it's overwhelming, it's huge. And of course you don't move. Like, who would, looking at that? But you don't actually need to see the whole mountain to be able to make the next move. You don't need a huge, big North Star, right, to be working, clarity to be working on. I mean, it's great, but you don't need all that. What you need is to trust in the next step. And then you trust in the next step after that. That's it. That's the whole thing, right? And the trust isn't trust that everything is going to be exactly the way that you picture it, that it's going to be this huge thing that you set at the top of the mountain. It's trust that you'll be okay even if it doesn't. And that's the capacity. The capacity is knowing in your body that you can cope if things shift, if they move, if they don't land in a way that you thought that they would, right? Capacity is the ability to go, this is okay, and I can pivot if it does change. But the more action you take, the more that you build trust. And not because you got it right every time, it's because you found out over and over again that you can actually handle it when it doesn't. And this is also how you find out what's actually in alignment for you, because how would you know what's in alignment? How would you possibly know if something is aligned or not? If you're not even willing to take the action in the first place, you can't assess alignment when you are standing still. Alignment and clarity reveals itself in the doing and not before. And this is the other thing that I hear women say so much. I don't have clarity. I don't know what I want. So that's another reason and excuse that we make to stay still. But it's something that you can solve immediately. But also, this is why authenticity and alignment and things that I speak on all the time, this is why it matters so much when you're talking about taking action. Because action that comes from alignment, that's following your gut, your intuition, this knowing that doesn't need to approval. Action that's the knowing, right? But action that comes from ego, that's from expectation. That's action following what other people think you should be doing or what you think you should be doing to be validated, to belong, to be seen as the one who has got it all together, doing all the things in the right order. Hello, the last 20 years of my life. So taking action from intuition is very different from taking action from ego. And this is what I find gets so muddled up. How do we know that we're taking action from intuition? Or this is where the work comes in, because we get to build this foundation of self so that you know that you're taking action from yourself, from your intuition. When you don't have this strong foundation, when you're so used to pivoting or making decisions based on what you think you should do because of your programming, we do it from ego so that we don't get caught out, so that we don't get it wrong, so that we can get validation, But this is not the way to take action. That is the way for burnout and overwhelm. And these two things, they can look identical from the outside, right? Same launch, same announcement, same big, bold moves, but one of them is built in truth and alignment, and one of them is built in performance. But you will only ever know which one you're in by actually moving, right? By actually doing the thing and connecting with your emotions and your nervous system as you go along the way. So here's what I would love you to take from this. A deadline, that's just a date on a calendar. It actually means nothing. Your mind will negotiate with a date every single time. It will push it out. It will tell you it's still not ready. It'll tell you it needs this amount of time. It'll find a reason it doesn't count yet. But a deadline that is in action, that's booking the guest before you have the name of the show, that's announcing your 3-day event on the one day. It's the kind of deadline that doesn't actually leave the room to negotiate. It's already happened. Right now, you have to build backward to actually make it come true. And this is the rebellious act of self-love that we talk about so often, is choosing before the proof exists, choosing before you have the evidence, before you have the confidence, before the mountain looks any similar than it does right now, before the mountain looks any smaller than it does right now. Because fear is going to show up. My gosh, it's not going anywhere. It's the relationship that you create with your fear that is going to set that strong foundation so that you can still show up and move. Because it showed up for me both times a lot, to the point where I wanted to cancel. And what was I doing, right? And who did I think I was? What if none of the girls booked? The moment you make the decision, the fear comes in. But the fear was never the stop sign. The fear is the edge of the exact thing that mattered. Because fear can exist alongside the truth. It doesn't cancel it out. It's actually often the proof that you're standing where you need to be. So I want to leave you with this. You're either living from a story about the future or a story about the past. Both of those are just excuses dressed up as reasons. The only thing that is real right now, and the decision sitting in front of you, what is it? Strip everything else away. What's the actual thing you keep waiting to feel ready for? You don't get to know if it's the right move by thinking about it for another 6 months. You get to know by moving, by building the capacity to trust yourself one step at a time, and trusting that whatever happens, you will be okay. If you are wanting support, if you are wanting to build the capacity, I am an energetic and identity mentor, and I work with women to build the capacity to hold the businesses, the money, and the love that they deeply desire. We have the Academy, which is my mastermind mentor group, where you get to step into a space and feeling fully loved on and supported whilst doing the energetic work. And I have my 3-day immersion that may be over in a minute and sold out, but there could be another one. Make sure you're subscribed onto my list or message me on Instagram and we can start having a chat. If you are waiting to feel ready, stop. Ask yourself, what reasons and excuses am I making to not do the thing? What am I actually getting out of not doing the thing? And is my desire to have and build something deeper strong enough that I'm just going to move anyway? I'll leave that with you.